been noticing a trend with these weirdo leftists on Twitter and elsewhere posting things like this, making fun of right wing people and MAGA people, making them out to be keyboard warriors who were fat with the Confederate flag on their wall. Yeah, there's definitely some of those. But if you look up redneck in the old DuckDuckGo machine, go to images. Yeah, these people don't look like they're going to be sitting behind a computer and being a keyboard warrior with. They might have the Confederate flag up on their wall, but this guy, he's probably got a gun hiding underneath his balls. This guy right here. There's no telling what this guy can do. He's definitely on meth. So he's like he's not even here. So don't mess with that guy. This guy's got his weapon is just made of beer cans. We all know who this guy is. And yeah, they might be retarded, but they got guns. And let's just look up leftists. Yeah, these guys don't exactly look like the fighting type, and they want to make fun of rednecks. But here, let's just move on to. Okay, if you think this is what rebels look like, you have a major problem. The rednecks I know are the types to weaponize a Toyota and slap a mounted turret to the top, which is legal, by the way. If they think that this is what the right wing looks like, they're in trouble. Because I guarantee this guy sits at home. Look at him. Look at that. I guarantee he sits at home and doesn't go outside. Probably orders his food. Sober, book reader, player of video games, movie enthusiast, proud father of 3 young women. DM me your books. Sure, sounds fine. Sounds like a normal dude until you pair that with his posts. And then, like this right here, laughing about, we are patiently waiting. Yeah, look at that compared to what Antifa is. These people actually served in the military. These Antifa people are just pretending they're the military. Seems like this dude is just, online. Just a basic pussy that does nothing but watch movies and play video games. Whatever. Just thought I'd like to share that little tidbit. Now let's move on to the rest of the news. So, Texas National Guard is trending, border is trending, Missouri, Arkansas, Greg Abbott, remember the Alamo? These are all trending topics in the news category. I'm just going to click on the top one. The Texas National Guard is continuing to hold the line in its standoff with the federal government. You love to see it.
Hey, I normally don't cover kind of hard politics stuff, but enough of you were asking me to cover this on Twitter, and so I'll take the hit. I know it won't appeal to everybody, but if you do enjoy this,
You see this up at the top about Skillet's John Cooper? That's a little teaser for the next video.
talk about this stuff more on my live show at 1 Eastern every single Monday through Friday, and I'd really, really love to see you there today. If you want to talk more in depth about this, please, I'll leave a link in the pinned comment.
Time.
I'd love to see you there.
I'm in the Timcast Discord.
Things are getting pretty scary. Now, I'm not going to do, for a long time, I kind of poke fun at Tim, whom I greatly respect what he's built, his work ethic and drive. I've poked fun at his Civil War calls for a long time, and I guess it's mostly because up until now, I felt like Come on, player, But now, as each
Tim Pool absolutely hates these things. Well, he can get over it.
hour passes, we are getting states lining up on one side or the other of this border conflict. Essentially, in a nutshell, Texas has decided that they would like to protect their border. Their border also happens to be
Yeah, because what else are they going to do? They can't just not protect it because it was literally destroying their country from the inside out.
the international border between the United States and Mexico.
That's a
Joe
country and a
Biden
state.
and
Same
the
thing.
Supreme Court in the United States
Texas is its own country to me.
has tried to and said they cannot defend their own borders. They cannot stop the endless wave of migrants. It would be unconstitutional, they say.
What is it? Article 4, Section 4? Let me check that. U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. Here's the problem, though. If the federal government doesn't see it as an invasion, is it an invasion? Because they're saying that it's not an invasion. It definitely is, but they have final word, apparently, which I think that they don't. I think states have final word. That was the whole point of federalism. Anyway, let's continue.
Even though sanctuary cities apparently are. By that
You just
very
said that
same
like
logic.
I just said the last thing.
I don't think most people have any real idea of the number of people pouring over our borders in the South. And,
I need to get a banner like he does right here.
there's always this
Make my box smaller.
perception by the mainstream press that it's just women and children, seeking asylum. They need help. Everyone I see is a military age military age male. These huge swaths of men coming over our borders and from all over the world. I mean, they're getting people from China they picked up over there. They're coming. I mean,
Yeah, in this video, he says nothing. I forget what it was that he said. It was, let me look it up.
it is a sieve for people to come into this country. Are there some good people among them, people that just want to live the American dream? I'm sure there are. Are there some bad people among them that seek to hurt America, its citizens, and others? I'm sure there are. The policies of
My biggest thing is the federal government's lying to them, and they're making all these promises that we as Americans know that they never deliver on. And people are pretending like they do, and like the government actually helps. Which I don't know if you know this. The most terrifying words in the English language are "we are the government and we're here to help," because they never do. And even if they somehow accidentally do end up helping something, it was for their own gain.
Joe Biden have led to some of the largest migrant caravans. We're talking tens of thousands of people pouring over the border in the South. We can't handle it. What did Texas start doing? They started busing them into Democrat cities, New York, Chicago, things like that, sanctuary cities, and they're already crumbling. New York is at the brink between home.
Let's check out New York real quick. New York migrants. Outrage over an NYC migrant shelter evictions. What?
So because of the cold weather, there's been a lot of attention on migrant families who are being evicted from local shelters after 60 days.
All right, Fox 5's Morgan McKay live outside the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown.
Oh, yeah,
Morgan,
I heard
both
about this the
immigration
other day.
advocates and local politicians are demanding an end to this policy.
Exactly, Stephen, Teresa. As everyone knows, it has been freezing out here, and this new policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days has been in place for almost 2 weeks. Now, behind me, you can see the Roosevelt Hotel. This has been serving as a welcome center for newly arriving migrants, and now
You just have to reapply, right? But you got to wait in line. and they're not fast about it. So
Ticketing center for migrant families with eviction notices.
Our mayor is a slumlord.
City council members and immigration advocates blasting Mayor Eric Adams and his...
They're turning everything into slums. We're all going to look like Slab City before too long.
His administration for implementing a policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days. If these families cannot find their own housing within that time, they have to return to the Roosevelt Hotel and reapply for shelter. While a similar policy for single adult migrants has been in place for several months, this new recent policy change that now impacts migrant families with children has many.
Getting a stunning look at the migrant crisis in our state. This piece of video shows dozens of migrants lined up, sleeping on the floor of Terminal E at Logan Airport. WBZ's Louisa Mueller is live for us at the State House tonight. Louisa, the video.
Our mayor is a slumlord.
City council members and immigration advocates blasting Mayor Eric Adams and his administration for implementing a policy that evicts migrant families with children.
We're still getting thousands of migrants and asylums who are coming here, and so we want to give clear messages on what's expected. The overwhelming number of people who are there, they want to take the next step in their American dream, but you do have a numerical minority that we want to give clarity to, that you can't come into our systems and be disruptive and in their neighborhoods.
More than 80% of New Yorkers say that the recent migrant influx is a serious problem.
When migrants first came to sanctuary cities, Democrats rolled out the red carpet. They pitched them wedding tents, filled them with recliners, popcorn machines, Xboxes. Leaders of sanctuary cities campaigned on the issue and boasted about all the illegals they'd let in.
Protect our immigrants during the...
I just want to show you something real quick. Hold up. Joe Biden, open border. They say that they never said that there were open borders, except here's the one thing I found.
Deported more than 3 million Americans. My question to you is, if an individual is living in the United States of America without documents and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
No. Depending if they committed a major crime, they should be deported. And the president was left in his... President Obama, I think, did a heck of a job. To compare him to what this guy's doing is absolutely, I find, close to immoral. But the fact is that, look, we should not be locking people up. We should be making sure we change the circumstance, as we did, why they would leave in the first place. And those who come seeking asylum, we should immediately have the capacity to absorb them, keep them safe until they can be heard.
A 15-second.
Wow, he seems so coherent just 4 years ago, just in his face. Like, he looks way, like, so much younger, like 10 years younger. What happened?
And I want to talk about another top issue, the border. Now, I love how he's turned on, and Biden's for a free and open border. Just tear down everything, let everybody come, no restrictions. Well, I used to be a bipartisan in this country, and it should be one again. I've been clear from the very beginning, the system is broken. My first day in office, I sent Congress a comprehensive plan on immigration reform. My friends on the other side have done nothing with that. Over and over, I've asked for resources to step up action at the border. In October, I asked Congress to fund...
Yeah, you asking for resources and asking for resources. And then when you get it, what you do is you open the border. You literally are lifting up razor wire. You're cutting parts of the fence to let people in, instead of at the points where we have set up to let people in, you have them blocked off and there's nobody there. Why?
Immigration has always been essential to America. Let's end our exhausting war over immigration. For more than 30 years, politicians have talked about immigration reform, and we've done nothing about it. It's time to fix it. On day one of my presidency, I kept my commitment and sent a comprehensive immigration bill to the United States Congress. If you believe we need to secure the border, pass it, because it has a lot of money for high-tech border security. If you believe in a pathway to citizenship, pass it. It's over 11 million undocumented folks, the vast majority of here overstaying visas. Pass it. We can actually, if you actually want to solve a problem.
How long ago was this? It was 2 years ago? Look at the change in his face just in 2 years.
I've sent a bill to take a close look at it. We also have to get at the root problem of why people are fleeing, particularly to our southern border from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The violence, the corruption, the gangs, the political instability, hunger, hurricanes, earthquakes, natural disasters. When I was president, when I was vice president, the president asked me to focus on providing help needed to address the root causes of migration. And it helped keep people in their own countries instead of being forced to leave. The plan was working, but the last administration decided it was not worth it. I'm restoring the program and asked Vice President Harris to lead our diplomatic effort to take care of this. I have absolute confidence she'll get the job done.
What did he say? He didn't say anything. He said what the problem was, and then he's like, we're gonna fix it. And then everybody, whoa, yeah. It's just like all the time with this guy. They're in a cult because he never says anything. And then when he gets done, when he says that last word, everybody just claps and cheers. Dude, I cannot find it. I probably looked for like 15 minutes. I cannot find that latest one. Am I seriously going to have to go back to Timcast and just look for them reacting to it? I just cannot with searching for stuff. It just pisses me off because I literally saw it everywhere yesterday and it's just gone. It's not like I can't even find it on X. It says top. It was in the top yesterday. I'll just look up Joe Biden. What did he say?
What did he say?
Is this it? My God. I had to literally look that up.
We'll teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
He sounds drunk.
We'll teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
And they have no idea what he said, but they cheered anyway. I'm pretty sure he says don't mess with the women of America unless you want to give them benefits, but how are they going to decipher that over a microphone, over an intercom? I mean, maybe it sounds different, maybe they heard it clearer, but that is not clear to me. I'm not even sure that's what he said. Where in America your benefits? All right, let's continue this video.
Homelessness and migrants, they have no hotel rooms practically. They're on the brink. They are begging to stop, and they're getting just a fraction of what Texas is. Now, the border battle lines, Democrats call on Biden to seize control of the Texas National Guard. This would be...
That's not going to end well.
If he does that, if he tries to do that, the battle would most likely be on. Now, GOP allies now back Abbott. This in an election year.
I think there will be full-scale war and riots happening. Mostly the leftists are going to be rioting, but don't riot where the right-wing people are. During a civil war, I can guarantee you that won't end well.
Joe Biden, Abbott really has him over a barrel. Greg Abbott put out this statement. Now, we've seen these fancy letters from Greg Abbott before and not have him follow through. But you can see an overwhelming amount of support with 140,000 likes and just 13,000 comments. Texas is absolutely right. Elon Musk says this administration is deliberately breaking the law by aiding and abetting illegal immigration at an unprecedented scale. That is a fact. God bless Texas for defending our entire nation, which is essentially true. People that are coming over the border are not just staying in Texas. Now, I have always been pretty I just want a path to citizenship for people. What I don't want is a mob of 10,000 people every day flying over the border, carrying God knows what, with whatever plan.
What I don't want, I did the same thing as him. What I don't want is vigilantes in weaponized trucks with guns hunting people down. That's what I don't want. If they got here, too bad. They're here. That's what I think. We got to prevent them from coming in, and definitely find them, round them up. Anybody who's not here legally, round them up. Let's figure out how to make them legal or deport them.
And we just need to. I want people to be able to immigrate here. I do.
True.
But I just want a system that screens and makes sure that there's
not gonna
pouring over.
It's not gonna collapse society.
Our borders. We have enough problems in this country. We literally can't take more people. 100,000 people a year are ODing on fentanyl and opioids.
And how many more homeless people are we getting per year? I don't even want to look it up. I know that it's getting crazy out there.
Hundreds of thousands of homeless. Our VA's in shambles. What on what planet? We're defending every other border. This is one of the biggest things that I hope people keep in mind this November when they vote. Whoever you vote for, understand their policies on defending borders. At right now, and if you're in America or maybe other nations too, your money is being sent to defend borders in Israel, defend borders in Ukraine. Then there's the stuff going on in the Red Sea, which nobody's talking about. And we won't defend, and we have our president actively trying to tear down our own secure borders. And it's getting intense. Camilo, where it's a border.
I'm going to look up and see what CNN says about the border real quick on YouTube. Or about the razor wire. I bet they didn't report it. Yeah, it seems like CNN's not talking about the razor wire. CBS talking about it. I don't know how long this is. What's with the 3 dots? Updated 52 minutes ago.
The Supreme Court is now allowing Border Patrol agents to remove razor wire installed by Texas along the U.S.-Mexico border. The wire was put up to discourage illegal crossings. The Biden administration argued it hindered Border Patrol agents' ability to process migrants who are already in the country. In a 5-4 vote Monday, the justices overturned a lower court ruling preventing officials from taking it down. CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez joins us now. Camilo, tell us why did the Supreme Court side with the Biden administration?
Good evening, John, from the Texas border town of Eagle Pass. This is at the center of this legal fight between the Biden administration and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. This is one of the sections, John, of the U.S.-Mexico border where Texas National Guard soldiers, some of whom you can see behind me, have been setting up and assembling razor wire to repel migrants from swimming across the Rio Grande and entering the U.S. illegally. By suspending this lower court ruling, the Supreme Court is saying that the Biden administration can now remove that razor wire that Texas has put in place to process migrants on U.S. soil. This was a brief order that did not include a legal justification, John, but we do know that the administration had said and argued to the High Court that this razor wire was obstructing and impeding Border Patrol operations, including efforts to process migrants who are already on American soil and to respond to medical.
How does that impede on the Border Patrol being able to do their job? Oh, because their job is to let everyone in. And that impedes on letting everyone in.
Emergencies. It's important to note, John, that once migrants get into the middle of the Rio Grande, they're technically on U.S. soil, and Border Patrol has no option but to process them and determine what those migrants should end up happening to those migrants, I should say, whether they should be deported, released into the country, or detained for the adjudication of their cases. Texas, for its part, John, has said that this effort...
If you don't go to the designated areas that have been established for years and years and years, you get deported. No questions asked. That's it. Like, you know you're not supposed to go there. You see razor wire, don't go near it. I don't know. Like, I just don't know. They have razor wire up at the capitals, at police stations, everywhere, to prevent people from rioting and breaking into these places. That is razor wire that is used against us, the American citizens. But it's cruel to use razor wire to get into a country illegally. Okay.
Is designed to deter illegal border crossings.
So what happens now? Can Texas challenge the decision, or is this it?
This is in no way an end to this legal fight between the administration and Texas over this specific issue of the razor wire, John. This will suspend a lower court ruling, but an appeals court in New Orleans is still reviewing this case, John, and could very well side with Texas.
Yeah, and what if it doesn't side with Texas and Texas decides that what the Supreme Court is ruling is illegitimate, and then other states follow suit, which they're already doing. Even some of the northern states like South Dakota are following suit. Wyoming's following suit. It's not looking good for Biden or the American people or America in general. All right, I'm done watching that.
Border standoff between Texas and Biden administration continue here in Eagles Pass. The Texas National Guard has not only assembled razor wire where near the river to repel migrants, it has also set up wire to seal off the area that Border Patrol uses to process migrants. You see, I mean, just thousands of people pouring over. Now you're getting states lining up. Glenn Youngkin, Virginia stands with Texas. Greg Abbott, Texas is doing...
There's another one.
The job Joe
Another
Biden
northern
and
state.
border czar, refused to secure our border. The Biden administration has turned every state into a border state. We must stop the flow of opioids, save lives, and secure our southern border. I 100% agree with that.
Where is Kamala Harris in all this? Isn't she the one who's supposed to be in charge of the border? And I haven't heard a single thing from her in years even, like, other than agreeing with what the leftists say. Has she even been down there this whole time? Probably not. She probably gets screamed at the whole time. She just doesn't want to take it.
And this is a losing issue, I think, for Democrats, because it is all over the news every night. The drug problem is not a problem that affects only Republicans or only Democrats. It affects everybody, independents too, right? A lot of people know somebody or something that has been affected because of this. Of course, Vice extremists call for civil war and secession over Texas border ruling. Well, the feds are staging a civil war and Texas should stand its ground. A GOP congressman tweeted Supreme Court ruled for the Biden administration.
Okay, I'm just looking at thoughtco.com. What were the top 4 causes of the Civil War? Slavery in the economy and society. Yeah, we all know that. States and federal rights. Since the time of the American Revolution, 2 camps emerged when it came to the role of government. Some people argued for greater rights for the states, and others argued that the federal government needed to have more control. The first organized government in the U.S. after the Revolution was under the Articles of Confederation. The 13 states formed a loose confederation with a very weak federal government. However, when problems arose, the weakness of the Articles caused the leaders of the time to come together at the Constitutional Convention and create, in secret, the U.S. Constitution. Strong proponents of states' rights, like Thomas Jefferson and Patrick Henry, were not present at this meeting. Many felt that the new Constitution ignored the rights of states, continued to act independently. They felt that the states should still have the right to decide if they were willing to accept certain federal acts. This resulted in the idea of nullification, whereby the states would have the right to rule federal acts unconstitutional. The federal government denied states this right. However, proponents such as John C. Calhoun, who resigned as vice president to represent South Carolina in the Senate, fought, I can't read that word, vehemently, I've never seen that word before, for nullification. I think I've heard this word, I've just never seen it. When nullification would not work, and many of the southern states felt that they were no longer respected, they moved toward thoughts of secession. What? Hold on. What did that say? That basically just said there were problems with states and federal rights. It didn't tell me what those problems were. Okay. No, there was slavery. Okay, this article sucks. What really started the America? You know what? I'm looking up the wrong thing. Battle of Fort Sumter. This is what I was looking for, Manassas. It is a popular, almost legendary story that innumerable civilians armed with picnic baskets followed the Union Army out from Washington in July 1861 to watch what everyone thought would be the climactic battle of a short rebellion. These naive citizens, the tale goes, then impeded the Union retreat, adding to the panic. Yeah. So the Democrats just made it much, much worse. The people that had no part in the fighting, which is what always happens. The people who have no part in the fighting always make things much, much worse. Just look at Vietnam and the people what happened to the people when they came back from Vietnam. Hollywood representations of Manassas have, unfortunately, perpetuated the notion that large numbers of civilians were actually under fire on the battlefield. Indeed, there were a few, like Governor William Sprague of Rhode Island, who accompanied Burnside's brigade and had 2 horses shot from under him on Matthews Hill. The majority of spectators, however, were well out of harm's way on Centreville Heights, some 5 miles from the fighting. In truth, many sightseers packed picnic baskets, but this was more a necessity than a frivolous pursuit on a Sunday afternoon. Centreville was a good 25 miles from Washington, a 7-hour carriage ride one way. The sightseers would need nourishment during their adventurous excursion, and they could not rely on the hospitality of local Virginians, now citizens of a rival nation. Near Centreville, Captain John Tidball witnessed a throng of sightseers approach his battery. They came in all manner of ways, some in stylish carriages, others in city hacks, and still others in buggies, on horseback, and even on foot. Apparently, everything in the shape of vehicles in and around Washington had been pressed into service for the occasion. So they turned it into a Super Bowl, is what happened. It was a Sunday, just like the Super Bowl, and everybody seemed to have taken a general holiday. That is all the male population, for I saw none of the other sex there, except a few huckster women who had driven out in carts loaded with pies and other edibles. All manner of people were represented in this crowd, from the most grave and noble senators to hotel waiters. London Times correspondent William Howard Russell observed, "On the hill beside me there was a crowd of civilians on horseback and in all sorts of vehicles, with a few of the fair, if not gentler sex. The spectators were all excited, and a lady with an opera glass who was near me was quite beside herself when an unusually heavy discharge roused the current of her blood." That is splendid. Oh my, is that not that first rate? I guess we will be in Richmond tomorrow. Irritated by constant appeals to borrow his glass, Russell decided to press forward after an officer rode up and exclaimed to the cheering crowd, "We have whipped them on all points." Most of the information filtering back from the battlefield was well over an hour old. All that could be seen of the battle from Centreville was gun smoke rising above the distant treetops. Despite intensifying musketry and artillery fire in that direction, discontent with the view combined with encouraging news from the front emboldened a handful of politicians and others like Russell to venture westward in search of better vantage points beyond Cub Run. Among the notables in this crowd were Senators Ben Wade of Ohio, Henry Wilson of Massachusetts, Jim Lane of Kansas, Lafayette Foster of Connecticut, Congressman Alfred Elie of New York, and Elihu Washburn of Illinois, as well as soon-to-be legendary photographer Matthew Brady. These intrepid individuals found their way along the Warrenton Turnpike to a rise just behind Mrs. Spindle's house. Crazy how they've got the names for all these people. Field Hospital in rear of Brigadier General Daniel Tyler's division. Upon arrival, they joined John Taylor of New Jersey, Judge Daniel McCook of Ohio, and a half-dozen reporters who had been the only civilians in this vicinity until these mid-afternoon arrivals. Ultimately, the curiosity seekers got caught in a stampede of retreating Union troops. McCook desperately raced back to Centerville with his son Charles, it might be Centerville, who had been mortally wounded while visiting and separated from his unit as Confederate cavalry attempted to intercept the Union retreat. Photographer Matthew Brady was caught in the congestion at the Cub Run Bridge. Congressman Washburn tried in vain to rally the panic-stricken mob of soldiers near Centerville, but most of the civilians joined, if not led, the flight back to Washington and escaped unharmed. One notable exception was Congressman Eli, who strayed too close to Bull Run and became a prisoner of the 8th South Carolina Infantry, alone among all the politicians clamoring, "On to Richmond." Eli was successful. He spent the next 5 months residing at Libby Prison. Only one civilian was killed in the battle, the aged widow Judith Henry, whose home was engulfed by the fighting. See, that's what Civil War is like. People think it's all fun and games. They see in the news, they're like, oh no, this thing's happening. You want to go watch? And then it turns out it is actual war. People don't know what war is like, especially what modern war is going to be like in a modern civil war in the United States. It's going to get real weird.
I can say I was honestly extremely disappointed by the Supreme Court's ruling. Again, what Texas is trying to do is protect itself. If 100,000 migrants were pouring into San Francisco or even just California, right, every month, or whatever the number is, California even would be doing something about it. We know this because of what we're doing is what Texas is doing is busing them all to sanctuary cities, and they can't handle it.
Yeah, if these sanctuary cities who were built to be sanctuaries can't handle it, how do you think Texas is going to handle it? Oh, wait. They don't care. Because Texas is where all the rednecks live.
Now, on Monday, what really escalated things is when the Supreme Court ruled 5-4, including 2 conservative appointees who signed with liberal justices, that Border Patrol agents are entitled to cut down razor wire. This is all over the razor wire, essentially, right? What's wild to me is I get it. Oh, people getting cut. You know how you don't get cut by razor wire?
Don't go near it.
You don't break the law and you don't enter a country illegally.
True.
You would stop 100% of razor wire related injuries.
Bro, I would, if I see razor wire, I'm not going near it. There are other places, okay, there are places you can go on the border where there's no razor wire. There are places where they will take you in that aren't like holes in the fence. Just go there.
If you stopped trying to enter a country,
the federal government has screwed it all up because now they're just going to completely make people afraid of immigration and immigrants. So good job. You've pretty much locked down our border. And nobody's going to be able to get in now.
Country illegally. To be clear, when they are coming over the border, they are breaking the law. They are breaking the law to get here. Mike Collins writes, the U.S. shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. And if you see now, you have a long list of states: Arkansas, Florida, Iowa, Idaho.
Hey, I'm in Arkansas.
Now, I've not seen all of these individually. I've seen Oklahoma. I've seen Virginia, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma. I mean, you're talking about a lot of states that have said, hey, we back this. Because it's bigger than just Texas, right?
Which is crazy because Texas is huge.
The complexity starts where, yes, it's a state like any other state. Okay, Texas is a state like Wisconsin, where I live, is a state. Is a state like Wyoming or Montana or whatever. The unique thing, now obviously there are states in the north that do border Canada, right? If 100,000 people were flowing over the Canadian border every month in Wisconsin, it would bury the state.
Which I can see coming soon, when they actually become an arm of the Chinese, the what is it, the CCP, Communist China Party, or the Chinese Communist Party.
It would completely bury the state, right? So if Wisconsin wanted to say, even though we don't border, you get what I'm saying, like Minnesota or whatever, they wanted to say, hey, we have this problem. And the city, the state of Wisconsin is like, hey, we can't handle this. We have to protect our borders. It's the same. It applies. There's a lot of states that would apply to, not just Texas. You can also look at, a lot of people come in through Arizona, etc. See Marco Rubio saying members of Congress who demanded the National Guard come to Washington, D.C.
You ever have somebody stay in your house? You invited them in, and then they just wouldn't leave. And they just kept eating your food and breaking your stuff, and you can't do anything about it because you have to legally evict them first. That's what this is like. This is like people coming in and squatting. Because we don't have the resources for them. They're just making themselves at home, and we're not letting them do it. The government's letting them do it, just like they let people squat in people's homes. Which that one's just insane to me. How are you going to let people illegally stay on people's property? If it's somebody's property, if you've got the right to fire anybody for any reason, for even no reason, you've got the right to kick them out for no reason, because it's your property.
To protect them after J6 now demand Biden stop Texas from using the National Guard to protect Texas. Joaquin Castro writing, Governor Greg Abbott is using the Texas National Guard to obstruct and create chaos at the border. And by the way, none of these people who are having these hot takes about the border have been there. I haven't been there. I've certainly seen plenty of video footage to perhaps offer a counter opinion that what has existed at the border for the last, ever since Joe Biden came in office, right?
I know people who have been there, who have actually been there, and it's actually much worse than the videos make it out to be because you can't capture all of it. A lot of places you're not even allowed to capture.
Has been chaos. And if Joe Biden doesn't want people to vote for Trump, then he should probably do something to stop this. The problem is, and what a lot of people talk about is, these are all Democrat voters, potential Democrat voters. We've got, far leftists saying that you shouldn't even need citizenship to vote. You don't need an ID to vote. And who do all these people vote for? Democrats. Because
not even true. They don't just vote for Democrats. They vote for whoever told them they can stay. Even though that is who is making their lives worse, but they're just going to keep blaming the other side because these people don't know any better. All they know is that they were let in by these people, and now that they're in, the other side is keeping them down when it's the whole fucking system.
There are people who, they come over the border, they give them a Visa card with thousands of your tax dollars on it, a cell phone, they put them up in a hotel for months. There are interviews that I've seen with migrants in Texas that have been...
I bet if I get kicked out of my house, that I'm just out in the streets in the cold and in the rain. I don't get a hotel. I don't get a gift card.
Living like free, right? Food, meals, living in a hotel. You got a room service, or probably not room service, but a maid service probably. All this stuff paid for by you for months. Not like a couple days so they get things sorted out. It's an invasion at the southern border.
60 days, and then they get evicted and have to reapply. But they also have to wait to reapply because there are a lot of people trying to apply and reapply.
If Biden does take this next step, things are going to get scary. Very scary. And Tim Pool's going to end up probably right about his call for some sort of civil unrest. Whatever that looks like, I don't know, and I sure don't.
He says Tim Pool's right, but Tim Pool wasn't the first one to start saying it. I believe Alex Jones was the one who started saying it, and Tim Pool got it from him. I'm sure there are other people that were saying it first before Alex Jones, but I saw Alex Jones talking about it before Tim Pool started talking about it, and I watched all of Tim Pool's content. Welp. There's another video about possible imminent civil war, and I'm not going to be involved in it, hopefully.